For this video, we're going to look at restaurant wear that was first made by Homer Laughlin in 1960. It was sold under the name Best China. We'll look at a marking real quick. Homer Laughlin, Best China. Now, when we talk about designers and art directors that worked at Homer Laughlin, we throw around names like Frederick Reed, Don Schreckengoss, Vincent Broomhall, Jonathan Perry, Arthur Mountford, maybe even Dennis Newberry. But there's one name we generally do not mention, and that's Douglas Bourne. B-O-U-R-N-E. And the only reason is we don't know a whole lot about him. He was only at Homer Laughlin for 2 years, maybe even less than 2 years, because Don Schreckengoss, according to Joe Cunningham, left in 1960, and Vincent Broomhall starts in the fall of 1962. So in between there you have Douglas Bourne. Now, Douglas Bourne was originally from the East Liverpool area, and at some point in his life he ends up at Syracuse, New York, and he starts working at the pottery there. He met his wife, Noresta. She lived a very full life. She was born in 1918 and died in 2005. But I don't know if he made it to his 60th birthday. He died relatively young. But he came back to the East Liverpool area for this brief period of time to work at Homer Laughlin and bring with him his experience in working with restaurant wear from Syracuse. So today we're just going to look at a couple shapes. We're going to look at a couple treatments. There's not going to be any analysis here because Homer Laughlin makes restaurant wear for many decades to come, starting in 1960. And what we're going to focus on are shapes and patterns from the 60s and 70s only. And then we will look at the 80s and 90s and other time periods in the future. So let's start with the most basic shape, which is rolled edge, which is just a rim shape with a rolled edge, as you can see here. Some potteries will call that a welt edge. The second primary shape is narrow rim, which is the same as rolled edge, except, as the name implies, it has a narrow rim as opposed to the wide rim on rolled edge. And then there's Carolyn, which is a scallop shape with a rolled edge. And this is loosely based off of the Virginia rose shape with the little rose embossings removed. And then finally there's Princess, which is another scallop shape, but it has a narrow rim. There are other shapes like Durathin and Empire, a coupe shape, but we're just going to look at those four for today. The first piece we looked at, that's BC1. And when I say BC1, that's the treatment number, BC standing for Best China. This would be the first treatment. It's called Green Line or Green Stripe. It's been made for many years. Every restaurant wear pottery seemed to have their own version of this. BC2 is American Rose. And here we see it in a maroon color, but here it is in black. Now, while this may have a different treatment number, it has the same name, so we would call this American Rose in black. In recent years, the Homer Laughlin China Company made this in a blue color. I have a piece here we can look at real quick. This is American Rose in blue. Rather recent. There's our back stamp. So as we look at other patterns, and we'll focus on this diamond pattern, this is festival. It doesn't matter what color it is, it's always going to be festival. So we have festival in black, festival in turquoise, festival in brown, festival in gray, festival in yellow, festival in maroon. And we have a rolled edge soup bowl. And then we have this soup cereal, which is narrow rim, so it can be on different shapes. Little mustard pot with its handle. Should be marked Best China. Have a couple mustard pots. This one back here is called a maroon wave. And you can see these little waves in here. Here's the green version. And I point that out because there's another treatment that's very similar, this one, which is called Regal. And Regal has the little wings, and that's how you tell the difference between Regal and Waves. I'm sorry, Tide. That's called Tide. This is Regal. So again, Tide in green, Regal in green, and Tide in maroon. The one with the daisy is called Impact, and we have it here in turquoise, and we have Impact in maroon on this rolled edge platter. We also see Impact in turquoise on this little coffee pot. If you collect swing eggshell, you should recognize this. They use the same swing eggshell body, but they changed the lid and the handle. And this has the older Best China mark. The first ones have the star marking, which was only used for about 4 or 5 years. And then they go to the more familiar fleur-de-lis logo. So we'll move on. This is a very common treatment. And in preparing for the video, I could not find the name. I looked everywhere for it. The treatment number is BC517, and this is on narrow rim. Rather unusual to have a treatment in the well. Usually narrow rim treatments are going to be on the rim like this one. This is emery. But that's, again, I wish I could find the name for that for you. I'll have to keep looking. The one in the back on Carolyn is ebony scroll. And then there's a gold scroll, which is this one here on this Virginia cup. Best China. And then we have maroon, jet. So again, doesn't matter what color it is, it's always jets. We've got green jet, we got yellow jet on the bullion cup, we got gray jet on this Boston cup. We'll look at this platter because it has a really sharp marking on it, an early marking with the star marking on it. If you want to know what the letters mean, go to the website laurahollopark.net and you'll see a section on markings and you can see what those letters mean and the codes. The Princess plate, this one is called Honeyflower. The one on the back is called Autumn. And this Carolyn plate is called Floral Princess. And we see it again here on this little Duquesne creamer. I think that's a Marriott logo on a Irish coffee mug. And then there's black fleur-de-lis on narrow rim. And this little Durathin bowl is called Shangri-La. And then we have some coupe-shaped pieces here with this little Asian theme design, a brown stripe. We have gold fleur-de-lis. Now the ones with the squares, this is called, give me a second, Arista. And this one is called, okay, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right or not. It's spelled F-A-S-H-E-N-E. Fascine, I think is how it's pronounced. But a lot of these are going to be silk screen designs. Not too many decals. Again, here's Tide with the little waves in it. This one is called Pinwheel. Usually you will see that on narrow rim. And with this pattern, we're getting close to 1980 now. This is, you'll see this pattern on provincial wear, which we're going to look at later. But this is called Chelsea in blue, and then we have Chelsea in red. And in this one, you can see the Virginia Rose-like tab extensions. So these are Carolyn platters without the little Virginia Rose embossings at the scallops. Virginia coffee cup with oak leaf. Here's a very common pattern. I don't know the name of this, but I do know the treatment number. It's BC1121. Has an embossed logo. And I wanted to show this. This is called a nappy bowl. And it has the jet maroon treatment, but then it has this decal with this hospital from North Carolina. So you'll find a lot of Best China that mentions the institution. In this case, it would be for probably a cafeteria at that hospital. We see St. George Royal Buffet plate back here. So you'll see a lot of restaurant names and such on these pieces. This is a York mug. We're going to have to do a video on all the different mugs because there were so many different mugs over the years, probably dozens of them. Has a Fiesta handle, but has a tapered foot, a white back stamp on it. China Specialties used York mugs to make a little Fiesta series. They put the Fiesta logo in different colors on their mug, on the York mugs, and sold them. With a rather nice little line. And then we have a Fiesta Tom and Jerry mug that's marked Best China. This is in a tan-bodied clay and then given a clear glaze. What else do we have? We have gold fleur-de-lis. This is a Stephen cup with its squarish handle. And we have Grecian, which is in blue and gray. You'll find this in different color combinations. Again, if you do, it's still called Grecian. May have different treatment numbers. Different sizes of creamers. Again, just like mugs, there are all kinds of creamers. We've got different styles here. This is the jet gray. And this is a little unusual. I wanted to pull this one out to show. It has a stencil. You will ordinarily let me get that right. You will ordinarily not see stencil designs on Best China. As I said before, it's usually going to be silk screens. So that's going to be it, I think. I just wanted to introduce this. There's not a whole lot that's been written about Best China wares. There's not a whole lot that's been discussed. If you want to start collecting something like this, you go to any antique mall, any thrift store, you're going to find a piece of Best China. Relatively inexpensive. So if you don't want to get into something like Fiesta or Art Glazes or Century or anything like that where it's going to cost a lot of money, this is a good alternative. And if you collect something like Festival, where it's usually going to be in turquoise or maroon diamonds, you can find something that's in an odd color like the yellow, then that can be rewarding to find something unusual. Or American Rose, which is almost always in this maroon color, to find it in black, that's something special. So again, Douglas Bourne, B-O-U-R-N-E. We're going to talk about him in the next video with some semi-vitreous wares that he did for Homer Laughlin, and then we're going to move on because his time there is so short, there's not much to talk about. Then we will go on to Vincent Broomhall after that.